Every Sunday, Naomi pours her heart onto paper beside her husband's grave. But when a letter blows into the hands of a mysterious man mourning his own past, her words ignite a bond neither of them expected. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Ariel Tompkins closed the library at exactly 9:00 p.m., just as she had done for the past 3 years. She switched off the lights, one section at a time, watching the tall shelves disappear into shadow. This was her favorite moment of the day, when the books stood silent, holding their stories until tomorrow. "Good night," she whispered to the empty building. Nobody heard her, nobody ever did. Outside, rain fell in heavy sheets. Ariel pulled her thin jacket tighter and began the 12-block walk to her apartment. Her umbrella had broken last month, but a new one wasn't in her budget. Not with rent due in 3 days, and her account showing a balance that made her stomach twist. The walk gave her too much time to think. About the letter from her landlord tucked into her bag, about the email from Horizon Publishing that simply read, "We regret to inform you that your manuscript does not meet our current needs." It was the 7th rejection this year. By the time Ariel reached her small studio apartment, she was soaked to the skin and shivering. The place was just as she'd left it that morning. Bed unmade, dishes in the sink, and her mother's photograph on the nightstand. In the picture, Ellen Tompkins smiled widely, her arms around a younger Ariel at college graduation. "Hi, Mom," Ariel said, touching the frame lightly. The silence that followed still felt wrong, even after a year. Ariel peeled off her wet clothes and stood under a hot shower until the water ran cold. Then she made a cup of tea and sat at her small desk, where her laptop displayed the manuscript she'd spent 2 years writing. "The Invisible Girl," read the title page. Below it, by Ariel Tompkins. She stared at it until the words blurred. Then she closed the laptop. From her desk drawer, she pulled out a sheet of paper and a pen. Her hand trembled slightly as she began to write. "To whoever finds this, I'm tired. So tired that my bones feel hollow. I've tried to make a life that matters, but I failed at every turn. My mother was the only person who ever truly saw me, and she's been gone for a year now. Cancer. It was quick and terrible, and I still wake up some mornings thinking I should call her. I have no one else. No father. He left when I was 6. No siblings. No real friends, just people who know my name and nod when they see me at work. I've spent my life loving stories, reading them, writing them, shelving them for others to discover. But my own story isn't one worth telling. Nobody would miss the quiet girl who puts books away. I've given myself deadlines, reasons to stay. If my book gets accepted, if I make enough money for rent, if anyone notices that I'm drowning. None of those things happened, so I'm setting a new deadline 1 week from today. 7 more mornings of waking up alone, 7 more nights of silence, and then I'm done. I'm putting this note in my favorite book because it feels right somehow. Her final word tucked between pages that once gave me hope. Ariel folded the letter carefully and slipped it into her bag. Tomorrow, she would place it inside the library's copy of The Bell Jar. Page 237. The page where the main character begins to heal, an ending hidden inside someone else's beginning. 5 miles across the city, in a penthouse overlooking the river, Caleb Brandt stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. His designer suit fit perfectly. His hair was expertly cut. His smile looked practiced because it was. 10 minutes, Mr. Brandt, called his assistant from the living room. Coming, he answered, his voice steady. Tonight was the launch party for Mindful Me 3.0, the latest version of his mental health app. The press would be there. Investors, celebrities endorsing the platform. They would all shake his hand and congratulate him on saving lives. None of them knew he couldn't save himself. Caleb straightened his tie and recited the opening lines of his speech in his head. Words about hope and perseverance, words that rang hollow in his own ears. 5 years ago, before his company took off, before the money and the fame, Caleb had stood on the roof of his college apartment building, 22 floors up, 1 step away from ending everything. A security guard had found him, talked him down, made him promise to get help. Caleb had kept that promise. Therapy, medication, support groups, and somewhere along the way he'd had the idea for an app that could connect people to mental health resources instantly. Mindful Me was born from his darkest moment. Now it was valued at $4 billion. Mr. Grant, his assistant knocked on the door. The car is waiting. I need 5 more minutes, Caleb said. When he was alone again, he opened the medicine cabinet and took out the small orange prescription bottle hidden behind the mouthwash. Anxiety medication. He shook 2 pills into his palm, swallowed them, dry, and closed his eyes. The hollow feeling in his chest hadn't gone away. If anything, it had grown wider and deeper with each success, each magazine cover, each motivational speech he gave. Who was he to tell people how to survive when most days he was just going through the motions? Caleb put on his public smile and left the bathroom. His assistant, Emma, waited by the door, checking items off a list on her tablet. The speech is loaded on the teleprompter, she said, and I've arranged for you to meet with the Milestone Foundation representatives after your presentation. They're interested in partnering for their youth outreach program. Perfect, Caleb said, though he felt anything but. In the elevator down to the lobby, Emma continued reviewing his schedule for the week. Board meetings, investor calls, a photo, shoot for Tech Innovator magazine. Oh, and you have that panel discussion at the library fundraiser on Thursday, she added. The library? Caleb asked, suddenly paying attention. Which one? The main branch downtown. They're raising money for their literacy programs. You're speaking about the importance of reading for mental health. The elevator doors opened to the lobby, where Caleb's driver waited. Before stepping out, he turned to Emma. Cancel everything else tonight after the launch. I need some time alone. Emma looked surprised, but nodded. Of course. The launch party went exactly as planned. Caleb gave his speech without missing a beat. He shook hands and posed for photos. He accepted congratulations with his practiced smile. But at 11:30, when the party was still in full swing, he slipped out a side door and told his driver to take him home. Except when they were halfway there, Caleb changed his mind. Actually, can you drop me at the corner of 5th and Main, he asked. Sir, that's downtown. Nothing's open this late except the library, I know. The library closes at 9. Just drop me nearby. I need some air. The driver gave him a concerned look but changed course. 20 minutes later, Caleb stood on a rain-soaked sidewalk watching the car disappear into traffic. He hadn't planned this, didn't know what he was doing, really, but something about the mention of the library had tugged at him all night. Reading had been his escape as a child, his comfort as a lonely teenager, his lifeline during his darkest days. Maybe that's what he needed now. Not more success, not more hollow praise, just the quiet company of books. The library was closed, its windows dark. But across the street was a 24-hour diner with bright lights and steamed-up windows. Caleb pulled his collar up against the rain and headed there. Inside, a bell jingled as he opened the door. The place was nearly empty, just a couple in a corner booth and an old man reading a newspaper at the counter. None of them looked up. Caleb sat at a booth by the window facing the library. A tired-looking waitress brought him a menu. "Just coffee, please," he said. When she left, he pulled out his phone and opened the browser. On impulse, he searched for The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. It had been years since he'd read it. During his own breakdown in college, his therapist had recommended it, not as a guide, but as proof that someone else had felt the same emptiness and survived to write about it. The book had helped when nothing else could. Caleb scrolled through the search results until he found the library catalog. The main branch had 3 copies, all currently checked in. He would go tomorrow, before the fundraiser panel. He would find the book again and remember why he'd started all this in the first place. The next morning, Ariel arrived at the library an hour before her shift started. She had the letter in her bag, tucked inside an envelope. The main reading room was quiet at this hour. Just a few regulars at the computers and a mother with small children in the kids section. Ariel nodded to the librarian at the front desk and made her way to the fiction section. She found The Bell Jar easily. Her fingers knew exactly where it lived on the shelf. She pulled it out and held it for a moment, feeling its weight. Then she opened it to page 237. The paper felt crisp as she slipped the envelope between the pages. She closed the book and slid it back onto the shelf, her heart beating too fast. It was done. Her words were hidden away, waiting for someone to find them. Or not. It didn't really matter now. Ariel straightened her shoulders and walked to the break room to prepare for her shift. She had 7 more days of this routine, 7 more days of existing. And then, well, she wouldn't think about that part yet. As she arranged her things in her locker, the library director poked her head in. "Ariel, good, you're early. Can you help set up for the fundraiser panel tomorrow? We need the auditorium prepared today." "Of course," Ariel said. "Always agreeable, always invisible." "Great. The speaker list is on my desk. Some tech CEO is talking about mental health and reading, the usual rich person charity speech." Ariel nodded, not really listening. Her mind was still with the book on the shelf, with the letter inside it, with the deadline she'd set for herself. 7 days. She wondered if anyone would notice when she was gone. That night, Caleb couldn't sleep. The hollow feeling in his chest had become a physical ache. He got up at 3 a.m. and stood at his window, looking out at the city lights. Who was he? The broken college student on a rooftop? The successful CEO giving speeches about hope? Neither felt real anymore. When morning came, he cancelled his meetings and told Emma he'd meet her at the library for the panel discussion. Then he put on jeans and a plain sweater, clothes no one would recognize him in, and took a taxi downtown. The library was quiet when he arrived. Caleb kept his head down as he entered, not wanting to be recognized. For once, he didn't want to be Caleb Brandt, CEO. He just wanted to be the person he'd been before, someone who found comfort in books. He made his way to the fiction section and found The Bell Jar, exactly where he remembered it. The familiar cover brought back memories of hospital waiting rooms and late nights when sleep wouldn't come. Caleb found a quiet corner and opened the book. He wasn't looking for any page in particular, just the feeling of connection that had once saved him. But as he flipped through it, an envelope fell into his lap. Confused, Caleb picked it up. It wasn't sealed. There was no name on it, just a plain white envelope that had been tucked between the pages. He hesitated, then opened it. As he read the letter inside, his hands began to shake. The words, about loneliness, about giving up, about setting a deadline, hit him with physical force. The writer didn't sign their name. Just A. But Caleb knew those feelings. He knew that emptiness. He knew what it was to set a deadline for your own life. He read the letter again and again. 7 days from yesterday. That's how long this person had given themselves. 6 days left. Caleb looked around the library, suddenly seeing every face differently. Was it the old man with the newspaper? The young woman at the computer? The teenager browsing graphic novels? Who had written these words that echoed his own darkest thoughts? And what was he going to do about it? Without thinking, Caleb tucked the letter into his pocket and left the fiction section. He needed to find this person, needed to tell them they weren't alone. As he turned the corner, he nearly collided with a young woman carrying a stack of books. She was small, with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her name tag read Ariel. "Sorry," she said softly, stepping aside. Caleb barely heard her. His mind was racing with the letter in his pocket, with the 6-day deadline, with a desperate need to find the person who had written it. "Excuse me," he said to the woman. "If someone wanted to find out who had checked out a certain book recently, is that information available?" Ariel shook her head. "That's private. We don't share patron records." "Of course," Caleb said. "I understand." She gave him a curious look, then continued down the aisle with her books. Caleb watched her go, then pulled out his phone. There had to be another way. He couldn't just let this go. He had 6 days to find A. 6 days to reach someone who felt exactly as he once had. 6 days to save a life. Caleb paced in his hotel room, the letter spread open on the desk. He'd cancelled the library fundraiser panel, claiming a sudden illness. Emma had been concerned he never cancelled appearances, but he couldn't focus on anything except the words on that page. 7 more mornings of waking up alone, 7 more nights of silence. And then, I'm done. 6 days left now. Less than a week. To find someone who wanted to disappear, he picked up his phone and called the one person he trusted with his own secrets. "Dr. Bennett," answered a calm voice. "It's Caleb Brandt." "Caleb, this is unexpected. Our session isn't until next week." "Doctor." Bennett had been Caleb's therapist for 5 years, ever since the roof incident. Even after moving across the country, Caleb kept their monthly phone sessions. She was the only person who knew the real story behind Mindful Me. "I need advice," Caleb said. "Not as a patient, as someone who knows what it's like." "What's happened?" Caleb explained about finding the letter, reading the words that could have been his own years ago. "I can't just ignore it," he finished, "but I don't know how to find this person." There was a long pause before Dr. Bennett spoke. "Caleb, your instinct to help is understandable, but this is a complex situation. You're not a mental health professional. I know that, but I've been where they are. Maybe that counts for something." "It might," she agreed, "but you need to be careful, both for them and for yourself. This could be triggering for you." "I'm stable," Caleb insisted. "Have been for years." "All right. If you do find this person, remember, don't judge, don't try to fix everything at once, and most importantly, encourage. Professional help." "I will," Caleb promised. "But first I have to find them." After ending the call, Caleb stared at the letter again. The clues were limited. Someone who loved books, who had lost their mother to cancer a year ago, who had written a manuscript that kept getting rejected. Someone who felt invisible. His tech company had resources, people who could find almost anyone. But was it right to use those resources for this? Caleb made another call. "Emma, I need to ask you something unusual. It's important, but it's not about the company." "What do you need?" Her voice was curious but professional as always. "I need to find someone who works at the main library. I don't know their full name, just that it starts with A. That's unspecific. May I ask why?" Caleb hesitated. "It's personal, but it's important. Life or death, important." Emma was silent for a moment. "I'll see what I can do, but Caleb, if this is something serious, it is, and I'm handling it. I just need information. Give me a few hours." Ariel worked her shift that day with the same quiet efficiency she always showed. She shelved books, helped patrons find research materials, and organized the new display for Local Authors Month. No one noticed that she moved a little slower than usual. No one saw the emptiness in her eyes. During her lunch break, she checked her bank account on her phone. The balance hadn't changed, still not enough for rent. Her landlord had been clear: pay by the end of the week or face eviction. She'd applied for a second job at a coffee shop, but they'd hired someone with more experience. She'd tried selling some of her mother's jewelry, but it wasn't worth much. She'd even looked into payday loans, but the interest would only bury her deeper. Everything was closing in. The rejection letters from publishers, the eviction notice, the constant, gnawing loneliness. 6 more days. As Ariel walked back to the main desk, she noticed a commotion near the entrance. A well-dressed woman was speaking with the library director, showing something on a tablet. The director looked concerned, then pointed toward the fiction section where Ariel had been working. Ariel quickly turned and walked the other way. She didn't know what was happening, but she didn't want to be noticed. Being noticed meant answering questions, and she didn't have the energy for that today. She slipped into the reference room and busied herself organizing newspapers until the woman left. Then she returned to shelving books, methodically placing each one where it belonged. When she reached the fiction section, she paused at P for Plath. Her fingers hovered over the bell jar. Had anyone found her note yet? Had anyone read her words? She pulled the book from the shelf and opened it to page 237. The envelope was gone. Ariel's heart raced. Someone had found it. Someone had read her most private thoughts, her darkest confession. She quickly shelved the book and looked around, suddenly feeling exposed. Who had it? What would they do? Would they tell someone? It didn't matter, she told herself. In 6 days, none of this would matter anymore. But as she finished her shift and walked home in the rain, A small voice whispered that it did matter. Someone out there had read her words. For the first time in a year, someone knew how she really felt. Emma called back 3 hours later. "I found something," she said without preamble. "There's an Ariel Tompkins who works as a library assistant. She's 27, lives alone, and her mother died last year." "How did you find all this?" Caleb asked, surprised at the detail. "The library website has staff profiles. Hers doesn't show much, but I found her mother's obituary online. Ellen Tompkins died of pancreatic cancer. The obituary mentioned her daughter Ariel as her only surviving family." Caleb felt a chill. This had to be her. "Do you have an address?" "Caleb, what is this about? Are you in some kind of trouble?" "No, it's not like that. I found something this person wrote. Something private. I need to return it to them." Emma was quiet for a moment. "She lives in the Westwood Apartments on 8th Street, apartment 3B. But Caleb, whatever this is, be careful." "I will. And Emma, thank you." After hanging up, Caleb sat on the edge of his hotel bed, staring at the letter again. Now he had a name. Ariel Tompkins, the quiet library assistant he'd bumped into. The one who'd barely looked at him. The one who had 6 days left on her own deadline. What was he going to do? Show up at her door? Say he'd read her suicide note and wanted to help? She'd probably slam the door in his face. Or worse, be terrified that he'd tell others. Caleb needed a different approach, something that wouldn't frighten her. He took out a sheet of hotel stationery and began to write. "Dear A, I found your letter in the bell jar. I wasn't looking for it. The book just happened to fall open to that page. Maybe that's random chance, maybe it's something else. I don't know you. But 5 years ago, I was you. I stood on a rooftop 22 floors up, convinced that disappearing was the only option left. I was empty, alone, tired in that bone-deep way you described. A stranger talked me down that night. He didn't know me either. Just saw a person on the edge and decided I was worth saving. I've spent 5 years trying to be that person for someone else, building something I thought would help people find reasons to stay. But it's all been from a distance. Safe, impersonal. Your letter changed that. Your words, so familiar they could have been mine, reminded me what it really means to reach out. Not through an app or a program, but person to person. I don't have easy answers. I won't tell you the world is full of sunshine and hope, because we both know that's not always true. But I will tell you this. The emptiness can shrink. The weight can lighten. Not completely, not all at once, but enough to take another breath. Another step. If you're willing, I'd like to talk. Not to fix you, not to save you, just to listen. I'll be at the coffee shop across from the library tomorrow at 5 p.m. I'll have this letter with me, so you'll know who I am. If you don't want to meet, I understand. But if you do, I'll be there. See, Caleb read the letter over twice, then folded it and slipped it into an envelope. He wouldn't put his full name. She didn't need to know he was Caleb Brandt, CEO. That wasn't who she needed right now. He changed into jeans and a hoodie, clothes that wouldn't attract attention. Kant called a taxi to take him to Westwood Apartments. Ariel climbed the 4 flights of stairs to her apartment, too tired to mind the broken elevator. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, was in the hallway, struggling with her groceries. "Let me help you," Ariel said automatically, taking 2 bags. "Thank you, dear," the older woman said. "You're always so kind." Ariel managed a small smile. She followed Mrs. Chen to her door and set the bags inside. "Would you like to come in for tea?" Mrs. Chen asked. "I made almond cookies yesterday." "I can't tonight," Ariel said. "I have work to do." The lie came easily. She had nothing to do except stare at her rejection letters and count the days. "Another time then," Mrs. Chen said. "You work too hard. You know, always coming home late, always alone." Ariel nodded and backed away. Another time. In her own apartment, Ariel dropped her bag on the floor and sank onto the futon that served as both bed and couch. The small space felt emptier than usual tonight. Knowing someone had found her note made her feel strangely exposed, as if the walls of her private world had suddenly turned transparent. She should write another note, put it in a different book, or maybe just end things sooner than her deadline. Why wait 6 more days? A knock at her door startled her from these thoughts. Ariel froze. She wasn't expecting anyone. The landlord? Maybe? Coming to demand the rent she didn't have. The knock came again, softer this time. Slowly, Ariel got up and went to the door. She looked through the peephole but saw only a hooded figure, face turned down. "Who is it?" she called. "I have a letter for Ariel Tompkins," a male voice answered. Ariel hesitated. "I didn't order anything." "It's not a package, just a letter. I'm leaving it at your door." She heard footsteps moving away. After counting to 30, Ariel cracked the door open. A white envelope lay on the worn hallway carpet. No name, no address, just a plain envelope. Ariel picked it up and quickly closed the door, turning the deadbolt. With trembling fingers, she opened the envelope and unfolded the letter inside. As she read, her breath caught. Someone had found her note. Not just found it, but responded to it. Someone who claimed to understand exactly what she was feeling. 5 years ago, I was you. Was this real? Or some cruel joke? Ariel read the letter again, searching for signs of mockery or pity, but the words seemed genuine. Raw. The writer had been where she was now, had felt what she was feeling, and they wanted to meet her, the coffee shop across from the library. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., Ariel's first instinct was fear. What if this person reported her? What if they told her boss? What if this was all a setup to humiliate her somehow? But beneath the fear was something else, a tiny flicker of what? Hope? Curiosity? For the first time in months, Ariel felt something besides emptiness and exhaustion. Someone had seen her words, her pain, and reached back. She carefully folded the letter and placed it on her nightstand, next to her mother's photograph. "What would you tell me to do, Mum?" she whispered. Ellen Tompkins had always been brave, had faced cancer with the same quiet strength she'd shown as a single mother raising a daughter on a teacher's salary. She would have told Ariel to take the chance, to meet this mysterious person who signed their letter C, but Ellen wasn't here anymore, and Ariel had to decide for herself. Caleb sat in the coffee shop at 4:45 p.m., nervously turning his cup in his hands. He'd arrived early, chosen a table in the back corner, and ordered a black coffee he didn't really want. He wore a simple grey sweater and jeans, nothing like the designer suits he usually appeared in. His face had a day's worth of stubble, and his hair wasn't perfectly styled. He looked ordinary, approachable. The original letter sat folded on the table in front of him, as he'd promised in his note. A sign so Ariel would know who he was, if she came. Caleb checked his watch. 4:52 p.m. He told Emma he was taking a personal day. She'd sounded worried but hadn't pressed for details. His board members probably thought he was having some kind of breakdown. Maybe he was. What was he doing here, waiting for a stranger? What made him think he could help? But it wasn't about helping, not really. It was about connecting, about finding someone who understood the hollow place inside him because they had one too. The coffee shop door opened, and Caleb looked up. A middle-aged man in a business suit entered, not Herbie. 58 p.m. Caleb took a deep breath. She might not come. He had to be prepared for that. If she didn't show up, he'd have to find another way to reach her. He couldn't just walk away, not with her deadline ticking down. The door opened again. Ariel stood in the entrance, scanning. The small cafe. She looked exactly as Caleb remembered from their brief encounter at the library, small with dark hair pulled back, wearing a simple sweater and jeans. But now he noticed other things. The shadows under her eyes, the tension in her shoulders, the way her gaze skimmed over people without quite meeting their eyes. She looked like someone who had been invisible for too long. Caleb raised his hand, slightly, drawing her attention to the letter on his table. Their eyes met across the room. Recognition flickered in her expression, not of him but of what he represented. The person who had read her most private thoughts, who knew her secret. For a moment, he thought she might turn and run. But then she squared her shoulders and walked toward him. "You're C?" she asked, her voice barely audible above the coffee shop noise. Caleb nodded. "I'm Caleb. How did you find me? May I explain?" Will you sit down? Ariel hesitated, then pulled out the chair across from him and perched on the edge, ready to flee at any moment. I found your note yesterday, Caleb began. In the bell jar. I've read that book many times, but it just happened to fall open to that page. Page 237, Ariel said softly. Yes, when I read your words, it was like reading something I could have written 5 years ago. She studied his face. You said you were on a rooftop. 22 floors up, NYU student housing. I had failed out of my program, lost my scholarship, and felt like I had disappointed everyone who ever believed in me. Caleb had never told anyone this story except Dr. Bennett. A security guard found me on the ledge, talked to me for 2 hours, never told me life was worth living or that things would get better. Just listened. And did they? Get better? Some things did, some didn't. The emptiness never completely goes away, but it gets manageable. Ariel looked down at her hands. How did you find out who I was? Who I really am? I asked about recent checkouts of that book. When the library wouldn't tell me, I have resources, people who can find information. He didn't mention Emma or his company. I know I invaded your privacy, I'm sorry for that. But I couldn't. Just read your letter and do nothing. So you know everything about my mother, my job, She trailed off. I know your name is Ariel Tompkins, that you work at the library, that you lost your mother last year. That's all. She seemed to relax slightly. Why did you want to meet me? Caleb considered his answer carefully. Because when I read your letter, I felt less alone. For the first time in years, I found someone who understood that hollow feeling. I thought maybe you'd want to know you're not alone either. Ariel was quiet for a long moment. I didn't think anyone would find the note, she finally said, or if they did, that they'd care. I found it. I care. She looked up at him, really seeing him for the first time. You don't know me. I know. Enough, Caleb said. I know you're hurting. I know you feel invisible. I know you're tired of fighting alone. Her eyes filled with tears. You don't understand. Everything is falling apart. My rent is due and I don't have enough. My book keeps getting rejected. I have no one left. Tell me about your book, Caleb said. The question seemed to surprise her. What? Your book? The one you mentioned in your letter. What's it about? Ariel blinked away her tears. It's called The Invisible Girl. It's about a woman who can literally turn invisible. But instead of becoming a superhero, she uses it to watch people living their lives. To feel connected to them without the risk of being hurt. That sounds fascinating, Caleb said, meaning it. Have you sent it to many publishers? 7. They all said the same thing. Not what we're looking for right now. Publishing is brutal. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times before someone took Harry Potter. This isn't Harry Potter, Ariel said. It's just in me. My thoughts, probably not very good. I'd like to read it, Caleb said. If you'd let me. Ariel stared at him. Why? Because I want to know more about how you see the world. Because good stories deserve to be read. She shook her head in disbelief. You show up out of nowhere saying you found my goodbye note. You tracked me down. And now you want to read my manuscript? Yes, Caleb said simply. I don't understand what you want from me. I don't want anything from you, Ariel. I just want to know you're going to be here next week, and the week after that. I want you to tear up that deadline you set for yourself. Ariel's eyes filled with tears again. It's not that simple. I know it's not, but maybe it can start with something simple, like getting coffee with a stranger, like letting someone read your book. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I should go. Will you meet me again? Caleb asked. Tomorrow? Same time? I don't know. Please, just once more. And bring your manuscript. I promise I'll read it. Ariel stood up. I need to think. Of course. Caleb pulled a business card from his wallet and wrote his personal cell number on the back. If you want to talk, anytime. She took the card without looking at it and slipped it into her pocket. Goodbye, Caleb. Not goodbye, he said. See? You tomorrow. I'll be here either way. Ariel nodded once, then turned and left the coffee shop. Caleb watched her through the window as she crossed the street and disappeared around the corner. He had no idea if she'd come back tomorrow, no idea if he'd gotten through to her at all, but he had to try. 5 days left on her deadline. 5 days to convince her that her story wasn't over. That night, Ariel sat at her small desk staring at her manuscript on the laptop screen. The man from the coffee shop, Caleb, wanted to read it. A complete stranger wanted to read her words. She looked at his business card for the first time since leaving the cafe. Her heart stopped. Caleb Brandt, CEO of Mindful Tech, Inc., the company that made Mindful Me, the mental health app that was everywhere these days. The billionaire tech founder whose face was on magazine covers. That Caleb had found her note, had written to her, had sat across from her in jeans and a sweater like a normal person. It didn't make sense. People like him didn't talk to people like her. They didn't sit in coffee shops and share their darkest moments. They didn't offer to read unpublished manuscripts by nobody librarians. Was this some kind of publicity stunt? Was he researching something for his company? Ariel's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was good to meet you today. I meant what I said. I'll be there tomorrow if you want to talk more. Caleb. She stared at the message, not knowing how to respond. Part of her wanted to delete it, to pretend none of this had happened, to go back to her plan, her deadline. But another part, a small flickering part that had been silent for too long, wanted to reply. Wanted to believe that somehow, in this vast, uncaring city, someone had seen her. Really seen her. Ariel closed. Her laptop, her manuscript still unshared. She looked at her mother's photograph, searching for guidance. "What do I do, Mum?" she whispered. Outside, rain began to fall, tapping gently against her window. 5 more days until her self-imposed deadline. 5 more days to decide if she wanted to disappear or if she wanted to be seen. Caleb arrived at the coffee shop an hour early the next day. He claimed the same corner table, ordered the same black coffee, and waited. His knee bounced nervously under the table as he checked his phone every few minutes. No response to his text from last night. No indication that Ariel would come. He'd spent the morning researching ways to help someone in crisis, articles about what to say and what not to say, how to listen without judgment, when to suggest professional help. He'd even called Dr. Bennett, again asking for advice without revealing too many details about Ariel. "Be patient," Dr. Bennett had told him. "Building trust takes time. And Caleb, remember your own boundaries. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved." But that was the problem. Caleb didn't know if Ariel wanted to be saved. Her note suggested she didn't, yet she had met him yesterday, had listened, had walked away without promising anything. 4 days left on her deadline. The coffee shop door opened at 4:58 p.m. Ariel stepped inside, clutching a laptop bag to her chest like armor. Her eyes found Caleb immediately, as if she'd been scanning the room for him. She walked to his table and sat down without a greeting. "You're Caleb Brandt," she said. It wasn't a question. Caleb nodded anyway. "The billionaire tech CEO, the one who makes that mental health app." "Yes. Why didn't you tell me?" Caleb set his coffee cup down carefully. "Because I didn't want that to be the first thing you knew about me. I wanted you to see me as a person, not a CEO." "Is that why you dress like that?" She gestured to his casual clothes. "No. This is how I dress when I'm not performing for cameras or investors. The suits are the costume, not these." Ariel studied him for a long moment. "I looked you up last night. You're on the cover of Business Innovator this month. The man who monetized mental health. That was the headline." Caleb winced. "I hate that headline. I didn't approve it. But it's true, isn't it? You made billions from people's suffering. I made a tool to help people find resources, to connect them to therapists and support groups, to remind them to check in with themselves." Caleb leaned forward. "I did it because I wished I'd had something like that when I was standing on that roof." Ariel's expression softened slightly. "So that part was true? You really were going to—" "Yes," Caleb said quietly. "That was all true. The security guard who talked me down, his name was Miguel Vasquez. He stayed with me until the paramedics came, visited me in the hospital the next day. Made me promise to call him if I ever felt that way again. Did you feel that way again? Caleb nodded. Many times. But I kept my promise. I called him. He listened, never judged. Just listened. Where is he now? He retired 5 years ago. Lives in Florida with his wife. I send him a Christmas card every year. A thank you for saving my life. Ariel looked down at her hands. I didn't think I'd come today. I'm glad you did. I still don't understand why you're doing this. Why me? Why now? Caleb considered his answer carefully. For years I've been talking about mental health from stages and in boardrooms. I've been the face of a company that promises to help, but always from a distance, through a screen. When I found your note, it reminded me what it really means to reach out, person to person, the way Miguel did for me. So I'm your good deed? Your way of giving back? No, Caleb said firmly. You're someone whose words resonated with me, someone who made me feel less alone with my own emptiness. I'm here because when I read what you wrote, I felt connected to you, like maybe we could understand each other in a way most people can't. Ariel was quiet for a long moment. Then she unzipped her laptop bag and pulled out a thick stack of printed paper. She set it on the table between them. My manuscript, she said. If you still want to read it. Caleb looked at the title page. The Invisible Girl by Ariel Tompkins. I do, he said. Thank you for trusting me with it. I don't trust you, Ariel said bluntly. I don't know you, but I don't have anything to lose anymore. The words hit Caleb like a physical blow. 4 days left on her deadline, and she still saw no reason to change it. Would you like some coffee? He asked, changing the subject. Or tea? Tea would be nice. Earl Grey if they have it. Caleb went to the counter and ordered her tea, giving her a moment alone. When he returned, Ariel was staring out the window at the library across the street. I've worked there for 3 years, she said, as Caleb set the tea in front of her. People walk past me every day, ask me for help finding books, but no one sees me. Not really. Like your invisible girl, Caleb said, tapping the manuscript. Yes, except she chooses to be invisible. I just am. I see you, Ariel. She turned from the window to look at him. Because I left a suicide note where you could find it. Because I'm your special project now. That's not fair, isn't it? Would you be sitting here with me if you hadn't found that note? If I was just another quiet girl shelving books? Caleb didn't have an answer for that. She was right. Their paths would never have crossed if not for that letter. Maybe not, he admitted. But we did meet. And I'd like to know you. The real you. Not just the you from that note. Ariel sipped her tea. What do you want to know? Tell me about your mother. Her eyes widened in surprise. Why? Because she was important to you. Because you miss her. Because understanding what you've lost might help me understand where you are now. Ariel wrapped her hands around the warm cup. She was a high school English teacher, single mom. My father left when I was 6. I barely remember him. It was just me and Mom most of my life. She encouraged your writing? A small smile touched Ariel's lips. She's the one who got me started. Used to make up bedtime stories with me. We'd take turns adding to the tale each night. When I was 12, she bought me my first journal. Said my stories were too good to keep just in my head. She sounds wonderful. To us. Ariel's voice broke slightly. The cancer came fast. Stage 4 pancreatic. By the time they found it, there was nothing they could do. 3 months from diagnosis to the end. I'm so sorry. She made me promise to finish my book, to get it published. Ariel gestured to the manuscript. I've been trying, but no one wants it. Publishing is a tough business, Caleb said. Rejection doesn't mean it's not good. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just not as talented as my mother thought. Let me read it. I promise to give you an honest opinion. Ariel nodded slowly. Okay. Can I ask you something else? Caleb said. In your note, you mentioned being behind on rent. Is that still an issue? Ariel's face closed off immediately. I don't need your charity. It's not charity to help someone in a tight spot. Friends do that for each other. We're not friends. We met yesterday. Technically, yes, but I've read your deepest thoughts and you know one of my darkest secrets. That's more intimate than most friendships. Ariel looked away. I'm getting evicted at the end of the week if I can't pay. I'm short $400. Let me help, please. Consider it an advance for letting me read your manuscript. That doesn't make sense. You're paying to read something? Think of it as a consulting fee. I read a lot of books. I have opinions about them. Your insight as the author would be valuable to me. Ariel shook her head in disbelief. This is absurd. Life often is. Caleb pulled out his wallet and placed 5 $100 bills on the table. Please, let me do this one thing. Ariel stared at the money for a long moment. Then, with a hand that trembled slightly, she took it and tucked it into her bag. Thank you, she whispered, not meeting his eyes. You're welcome. Caleb touched the manuscript. May I take this with me? I promise to take good care of it. Yes. I'd like to meet again tomorrow. Same time. I should have read at least half by. Then, Ariel looked up at him. Why are you doing all this? Caleb thought about Miguel Vasquez on that rooftop, about the security guard's simple human kindness that had saved his life. Because someone did it for me once, he said, and because your words moved me, and because I think the world would be poorer without you in it. Ariel didn't respond, but her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Tomorrow? Caleb asked. She nodded. Tomorrow. Caleb stayed up all night reading Ariel's manuscript. The invisible girl was raw, honest, and unlike anything he'd read before. The main character, Mira, could physically disappear at will, but instead of using this power for heroics or crime, she used it to observe people in their private moments, to witness their joy and pain, to feel connected to a world that had never seen her when she was visible. The writing was sometimes awkward, the plot occasionally meandering, but the emotion behind the words was real and powerful. Caleb could feel Ariel's loneliness in every page, her desire to be seen, her fear of truly being known. When he finished reading at dawn, he knew 2 things. The manuscript needed work, but it deserved to be published. And he would do whatever he could to make that happen. He called Emma at 7 a.m. Caleb, is everything okay? She asked, clearly concerned by the early call. Everything's fine. I need a favor. Can you connect me with someone in publishing? Someone who actually makes decisions about manuscripts. Publishing, what's this about? I found a book I think should be published. It's good, Emma. Different. But it needs the right editor to see its potential. Emma was quiet for a moment. This is about that woman, isn't it? The library assistant. Yes, Caleb admitted. But the book really is good. I wouldn't ask otherwise. I know someone at Horizon Publishing, an executive editor. I can try to set up a meeting. Caleb's heart sank. Not Horizon. They've already rejected it. Ah, I see. Emma's voice held a note of understanding. I also know someone at New Leaf Press. They focus on first-time authors. Smaller advances, but they really develop their writers. Perfect. Can you set up a meeting as soon as possible? I'll try, but Caleb, so are you sure about this? Getting involved in someone's career, someone you barely know? I'm sure, Emma. I've never been more sure of anything. After hanging up, Caleb took a shower and changed into fresh clothes. Then, he sat down at the hotel desk and began making notes on Ariel's manuscript. Places where the narrative could be tightened, questions about character motivations, suggestions for developing certain themes, not criticisms, just observations from a reader who had been deeply moved by her story. Ariel went to the bank before her shift started and deposited Caleb's money. $500, enough to cover her rent with a little left over for groceries. She still couldn't quite believe what had happened. A billionaire had read her suicide note, had tracked her down, had given her money and taken her manuscript to read. It was like something from a movie, not real life, certainly not her life where nothing extraordinary ever happened. As she shelved books that day, Ariel found herself looking at the patrons differently, wondering about their stories, their secrets, their pain. Were any of them like her, like Caleb, hiding their darkness behind polite smiles and quiet efficiency? During her lunch break, she took out her phone and searched for Caleb Brandt again. Articles about Mindful Me's success, photos of him in expensive suits at charity galas, a profile piece that called him the tech world's mental health ambassador. But there was nothing about a suicide attempt, nothing about a rooftop, nothing about the emptiness he claimed to carry inside him. Had he made it all up? Was this some elaborate game to him? But then why the money? Why the interest in her manuscript? None of it made sense. But for the first time in months, Ariel felt something besides grief and exhaustion. Curiosity, wonder, maybe even a tiny spark of hope. 3 days left on her deadline. 3 days to decide if she wanted to reconsider. Caleb arrived at the coffee, sharp early again, this time with Ariel's manuscript in a leather portfolio case. He'd made notes throughout, using small sticky flags to mark pages he wanted to discuss. He'd also brought a list of publishers that might be interested in her book. Emma had come through with a contact at New Leaf Press. An editor named Jessica Chen had agreed to read the first 3 chapters if Caleb sent them to her. It wasn't a guarantee of anything, but it was a start. Ariel arrived exactly at 5 p.m., looking more put together than previous days. She'd done something different with her hair, letting it fall loose around her shoulders instead of pulling it back. She wore a blue sweater that brought out the color of her eyes. "You look nice," Caleb said as she sat down. "I had a meeting with my landlord," Ariel explained, "to pay the rent. He was surprised. I think he was looking forward to evicting me." "I'm glad it worked out." "Me too, thank you again." "You're welcome." Caleb tapped the portfolio. "I read your book, all of it." Ariel's eyes widened. "Already? It's over 300 pages, I couldn't put it down." This wasn't a polite lie. Despite its flaws, the manuscript had kept him turning pages long into the night. "It's really good, Ariel." "You don't have to say that. I mean it. The concept is original. Mira's character is complex and compelling. The writing is sometimes rough, but the emotion behind it is powerful." Caleb opened the portfolio and showed her the sticky flags marking different pages. "I made some notes. Just my thoughts as a reader, not as any kind of expert." Ariel stared at the carefully annotated manuscript. "You really read the whole thing?" "Yes, and I think it deserves to be published. 7 publishers disagree with you." "Publishing is subjective. Finding the right match between book and editor is like finding the right therapist. You might have to try a few before it clicks." "I've run out of places to try," Ariel said. "What if I could help with that?" Caleb asked carefully. "I know some people in publishing. One of them has agreed to read the first 3 chapters. Ariel's expression hardened. "So that's what this is about? You feel sorry for me, so you're going to use your connections to help poor, pathetic Ariel." "That's not it at all," Caleb said. "I genuinely believe in your book. Yes, I'm using my connections because I can, because that's what people do for writers they believe in." "Why would you believe in me? In my writing? You don't even know me." "I know. More than you think," Caleb said. "I know you're observant. Your descriptions of how people move, talk, hide their true feelings, those come from someone who really sees the world. I know you're empathetic. Mira could have been bitter about being invisible, but instead she uses it to understand others. I know you're resilient. You finished this book while grieving your mother and facing eviction." Ariel looked away, but not before Caleb saw the emotion in her eyes. "Your book deserves to be read," he continued. "Not because I feel sorry for you, because it's good, because it moved me. And if this publisher you know rejects it too, then we try another, and another after that, for as long as it takes." "We?" Ariel raised an eyebrow. "If you'll let me help." She was quiet for a moment, considering. "Why does it matter so much to you, whether my book gets published or not?" Caleb chose his words carefully. "Because I think it might be one of your reasons to stay, to see your name on a book cover, to share your story with readers who need it." "You mean to stop me from killing myself?" "Yes," Caleb said simply. "That too." Ariel took a deep breath. 3 days left. It was the first time she'd directly acknowledged her deadline to him, the first time she'd confirmed that the 7-day countdown was still active in her mind. "Will you let me send the first 3 chapters to this editor?" Caleb asked. "Who is it?" "Jessica Chen at New Leaf Press. They specialize in debut authors." Ariel's eyes widened. "New Leaf? They're respected. They published that memoir last year that won the National Book Award." "Yes." Jessica is their fiction editor. She's interested in new voices, different perspectives. And she agreed to read my work? Just because you asked? Caleb nodded. Just the first 3 chapters. No promises beyond that. Okay, Ariel said after a moment. You can send it to her. Thank you. Caleb pulled out his phone. I'll email her right now. As he composed the email, attaching the first 3 chapters, he'd saved as a PDF. Ariel watched him with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Done, Caleb said, pressing send. Now we wait. How long? Could be days, could be weeks. Publishing moves at its own pace. Ariel nodded, then reached for the portfolio with her manuscript. May I see your notes? Of course. Caleb pushed it toward her. They're just my personal reactions, things I wondered about while reading. Ariel began flipping through the pages, reading Caleb's neat handwriting in the margins. Sometimes she frowned, sometimes she nodded slightly, once she even smiled. These are thoughtful, she said finally. Not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Platitudes, maybe. Or harsh criticisms disguised as constructive. Feedback. That's what I usually get from writing groups. I'm not a writing expert, Caleb said. Just a reader who connected with your story. Ariel closed the portfolio. Thank you for reading it, for taking it seriously. Thank you for sharing it with me. Caleb hesitated, then asked, Would you like to get dinner? Instead of just coffee, I mean, there's a good Italian place around the corner. Ariel looked surprised by the invitation. I should get home, I have an early shift tomorrow. Of course, another time, maybe. Maybe. She stood up, tucking the portfolio under her arm. Same time tomorrow? I'll be here, Caleb promised. After tea, Ariel left. Caleb remained at the table, turning his empty coffee cup in his hands. 3 days left on her deadline. He'd made progress. She was talking to him, sharing her writing, even considering his help with publishing. But he had no idea if any of it was enough to change her mind. He pulled out his phone and called Dr. Bennett. I need more advice, he said when she answered. About my friend. The one you mentioned before. The one in crisis? Yes. I've been talking to her, trying to help, but I don't know if I'm making a difference. What have you done so far? Caleb explained about reading Ariel's manuscript, helping with her rent, connecting her with a publisher, all without mentioning her name or specific details. It sounds like you've built some trust, Dr. Bennett said. That's important. But, Caleb, you need to be realistic about what you can accomplish. You can offer support, resources, connection, but ultimately she has to want to keep going. How do I help her want that? You can't force it. All you can do is show her possibilities, reasons to stay, moments of beauty or meaning that might counterbalance the pain. Is that enough? Sometimes, Dr. Bennett said, sometimes not. That's the hard truth. We can't save everyone, Caleb, not even the ones we care about most. After hanging up, Caleb sat in the coffee shop for another hour, watching people come and go. Happy couples, stressed students, business people checking emails, all living their lives, dealing with their own struggles, carrying on despite whatever pain they held inside. 3 days left to help Ariel see that she could be one of them, that she could keep going, one day at a time. 3 days to show her she was already visible to someone. The next morning, Ariel woke to the ping of an email notification on her phone. She grabbed it from her nightstand, expecting another bill or rejection letter. Instead, she saw an email from Jessica Chen at New Leaf Press. Dear Ms. Tompkins, thank you for allowing Caleb Brandt to share the first 3 chapters of The Invisible Girl with me. I found your concept intriguing and your protagonist compelling. While the manuscript needs development, I see strong potential in your voice and vision. I would be interested in reading the full manuscript if you're willing to share it. I can't make any promises at this stage, but I'd like to discuss your book further. Please feel free to contact me directly at the email below. Best regards, Jessica Chen, Senior Editor. New Leaf Press. Ariel read the email 3 times, her heart pounding. An editor, a real editor at a respected publishing house, wanted to read her entire book. Not a form rejection, not a polite dismissal, real interest, and it had happened because of Caleb. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. For a year, she'd been sending out her manuscript, collecting rejections, watching her dreams slip away along with everything else that mattered. And now, just days before her self-imposed deadline, this glimmer of hope appeared. Was it enough to change her mind? To tear up that deadline and keep going? Ariel didn't know, but for the first time since her mother died, she felt something stir inside her, a tiny flutter of possibility, of future. She got out of bed and went to her desk, where Caleb's notes on her manuscript waited. She began reading them more carefully, seeing her story through his eyes, the places where he'd been confused, the moments that had moved him, the questions he'd had about Mira's journey. Without consciously deciding to, Ariel opened her laptop and began making changes. Small adjustments at first, clarifying a motivation here, deepening a description there. Then larger revisions, reimagining entire scenes based on Caleb's thoughtful queries. She worked through the morning, forgetting breakfast, forgetting even to check the time. When her phone alarm finally went off, reminding her of her afternoon shift at the library, she was shocked to see it was already 1 p.m. She'd been writing for 6 hours straight. And for those 6 hours, she hadn't thought once about her deadline, about disappearing, about the emptiness inside her. She'd just been a writer, doing what she loved. Ariel quickly got ready for work, her mind still buzzing with ideas for her manuscript. She needed to tell Caleb about the email from Jessica Chen, needed to thank him for making that connection. For the first time in a very long time, Ariel left her apartment with something like excitement in her heart. 2 days left, on her deadline. 2 days to decide if this new feeling, this tentative hope, was enough to build a future on. Caleb spent the day in meetings he couldn't avoid any longer. His board members were concerned about his absence from the office. Investors wanted updates on the next version of Mindful Me. Emma kept giving him worried looks as he checked his phone every few minutes. No emails from Jessica Chen yet, no texts from Ariel. "Caleb, are you with us?" asked Howard Grayson, the head of his board. They were sitting in the conference room of Caleb's hotel suite, reviewing quarterly projections. Caleb had barely heard a word. "Sorry, Howard. My mind was elsewhere for a moment." "It's been elsewhere for days," Howard said. "We're all concerned. This isn't like you." "I'm dealing with a personal matter. Anything we should know about?" "No." Caleb straightened in his chair. "I apologize for the distraction. Where were we?" The meeting dragged on for another hour. Caleb forced himself to focus, to ask appropriate questions, to appear engaged. But his thoughts kept drifting to Ariel, to their meeting scheduled for 5 p.m., to the 2 days left on her deadline. When everyone finally left, Emma stayed behind. "Is this still about the library assistant?" she asked. "The one whose note you found?" Caleb nodded. "Her name is Ariel, and yes, you've been helping her. Trying to." Emma sat on the edge of the conference table. "Caleb, I've worked with you for 6 years. I've never seen you like this, so invested in someone you barely know." "I know enough," Caleb said, echoing what he'd told Ariel. "Is there something between you two? Romantically, I mean?" "No, nothing like that. She's just someone who needs help, someone I understand." Emma studied his face. "You care about her?" "Yes." "Be careful," Emma said gently. "You can't save everyone, you know that, right?" It was almost exactly what Dr. Bennett had said, and they were both right. Caleb knew it intellectually, but his heart refused to accept it. "I have to try," he said. Emma nodded, recognizing his determination. "Jessica Chen emailed me this morning. She's interested in the manuscript, wants to read the full thing." Caleb's eyes widened. "That's fantastic. Did she contact Ariel directly?" "She said she did. But Caleb, it's still a long way from interest to publication. Don't get her hopes up too high." "I won't," Caleb promised. "But this is good news, really good news." Emma squeezed his shoulder as she stood to leave. "I hope it helps, whatever's going on with this woman." After she left, Caleb checked the time. 3:30 p.m. He still had time before meeting Ariel. On impulse, he called Jessica Chen himself. "Mr. Brandt," she answered. "I was wondering if I'd hear from you." "Please, call me Caleb. I just wanted to thank you for looking at Ariel's manuscript. So quickly. It was my pleasure. The concept is genuinely intriguing. An invisible woman who uses her power simply to observe and connect. It's a fresh take on an old trope. So you're seriously interested? This isn't just a favor. Because Emma asked," Jessica laughed. "I've been an editor for 15 years, Mr. Brandt. I don't waste my time on manuscripts I don't believe in, no matter who makes the introduction." "That's good to hear." "The book needs work," Jessica continued. "The pacing is uneven, and some of the secondary characters need development. But the core concept and the emotional truth behind it, those are solid. So if Ariel sends you the full manuscript, I'll read it. And if it holds up, I'll schedule a call to discuss potential next steps." "Thank you," Caleb said. "This means a lot, to both of us." After hanging up, Caleb felt a weight lift from his shoulders. This was real progress, a tangible reason for Ariel to reconsider her deadline, to see a future for herself and her writing. He arrived at the coffee shop early, as usual, claiming their corner table. This time he ordered tea for Ariel along with his coffee, remembering she preferred Earl Grey. Ariel arrived at 4:45 p.m., 15 minutes early. Her eyes were bright, her steps quicker than Caleb had seen before. "I got an email from Jessica Chen," she said without preamble, sliding into the chair across from him. "She wants to read my entire manuscript." "I know," Caleb said, smiling. "Emma told me. I just spoke with Jessica myself. She's genuinely interested, Ariel. This isn't just a favor to me." "I can't believe it." Ariel's voice was filled with wonder. "After all those rejections, someone actually wants to read my book. Because it's good, because you're talented. I've been revising it all morning, using your notes. You were right about so many things, places where I needed to clarify. Mira's motivations, scenes that dragged on too long. I'm glad my comments were helpful." "They were more than helpful, they were," Ariel searched for the right word, "insightful. Like you really understood what I was trying to do, even when I didn't execute it perfectly." "I connected with your story," Caleb said simply. "With Mira's loneliness, her desire to be seen." Ariel nodded. "That's what it's really about, isn't it? Being seen, truly seen." "Yes, and you captured that feeling beautifully." Ariel picked up the tea Caleb had ordered for her, noticing it for the first time. "Earl Grey. You remembered." "I did. Thank you for the tea, for reading my book, for connecting me with Jessica, for—" She hesitated, then continued in a softer voice, "for seeing me." Caleb's heart swelled at her words. "You're welcome." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping their drinks. Then Ariel spoke again. "I've been thinking about my deadline." Caleb set his cup down carefully, trying not to show how much those words affected him. "Oh, 2 days left," she said. "That's what I decided when I wrote that note." "And now?" Ariel looked down at her hands. "I don't know. Something's changed. This morning, when I was revising my book, I forgot about the deadline. For hours I just forgot. And it felt good. That's how I feel when I'm working on something I care about," Caleb said. "Like the world narrows to just that thing. Nothing else matters." "Exactly." Ariel met his eyes. "I haven't felt that way since before my mother died. I thought I'd never feel it again. But you did. Because of you. Because you read my words and took them seriously. Your words deserved to be taken seriously." Ariel's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to do, Caleb. I set that deadline because everything felt hopeless, because I was invisible and alone and tired of fighting. But now there's a possibility," Caleb finished for her. "A maybe where there was only no before." "Yes." A tear slipped down her cheek. "Is that enough to keep going? Just a maybe?" Caleb thought about Miguel Vasquez on that rooftop, about the security guard telling him that sometimes you don't need a reason to live. Sometimes you just need to not die today, to wait and see if a reason finds you tomorrow. I think maybes are where hope lives, Caleb said. In the spaces between. No and yes, in the moments when we decide to wait and see what happens next. Ariel wiped away her tear. I'm scared. Of what? Of hoping again. Of believing things might get better, only to have them fall apart. I don't know if I can survive that disappointment again. You don't have to decide everything right now, Caleb said gently. Just today. Just whether to see what tomorrow brings. One day at a time? That's how I've done it for 5 years now. Some days are harder than others, some are just about getting through to bedtime. But then there are days like today, when something unexpected happens. Something good. Ariel nodded slowly. Jessica Chen might hate the rest of my book. She might love it. My landlord might raise the rent next month. You might get a book advance. I might still be alone. You might not be, Caleb said quietly. Ariel looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since they'd met. Not as a billionaire CEO, not as a stranger who'd found her note, but as a person, a man who understood emptiness because he carried it too. Would you like to get dinner? She asked. Instead of just coffee, I mean. Caleb smiled, recognizing his own words from yesterday. I'd like that very much. I know a place, Ariel said. Nothing fancy, but they make good pasta. Lead the way. As they left the coffee shop together, Caleb realized that for the first time in days, he wasn't counting down Ariel's deadline in his head. He was simply walking beside her, listening to her talk about a small Italian restaurant owned by an elderly couple who knew her by name. 2 days left. But maybe, just maybe, those days would turn into more. As Ariel led the way down the busy street, she walked a little straighter, spoke a little louder, seemed a little more visible in the world. And Caleb, walking beside her, felt the hollow place inside his chest begin to fill with something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope, not just for her, but for himself as well. 1 month later, Caleb sat in the back row of a small bookstore, watching Ariel sign copies of her newly printed manuscript. It wasn't a published book yet, just a professional-looking bound version that Jessica Chen had arranged for a small focus group of readers. But seeing Ariel's name on the cover, watching her talk about her story with genuine enthusiasm, filled Caleb with quiet pride. The invisible girl isn't really invisible, Ariel was explaining, to an older woman who'd asked about the premise. She just feels that way. The invisibility is her way of connecting without risking rejection, like hiding behind a computer screen, the woman said. My granddaughter does that. Exactly, Ariel smiled. We all find ways to observe without being seen. Caleb watched as she signed the woman's copy, taking time to chat before moving on to the next reader. 10 people had shown up for this small event, mostly friends of Jessica or other New Leaf authors. But they were engaged, asking thoughtful questions, responding to Ariel's nervous but heartfelt answers. This was the 3rd such gathering Jessica had arranged over the past month, testing the waters, gauging reader response, building a case for acquisition. Yesterday she'd called with news. New Leaf wanted to offer Ariel a contract. A modest advance, a development editor to help polish the manuscript, a tentative publication date for next spring. Ariel had cried when Caleb told her, not the silent tears he'd seen before, but deep, body-shaking sobs of relief and joy. Then, she'd hugged him for the first time, a fierce embrace that said more than words could. The deadline had passed. Ariel had chosen to stay. 1 day at a time had become 1 week, then 1 month. And now a future stretching into next year and beyond. As the small gathering began to disperse, Caleb stood and walked toward the front of the store. Ariel looked up and spotted him, her face lighting up with a smile that still surprised him with its warmth. You came, she said. Of course. I told you I would. I know, but you have that board meeting tomorrow. I thought you'd be preparing. Some things are more important than board meetings. The past month had changed them both. Ariel had begun therapy with a counselor Caleb recommended, had started writing regularly again, had even applied for a full-time position at the library, children's programming coordinator, a job that would use her storytelling skills. Caleb had changed too. He'd stopped giving speeches about mental health and started having real conversations. had begun questioning the direction of his company, wondering if screens and algorithms were really the best way to help people in crisis. Had found himself looking forward to his daily calls and coffee meetings with Ariel more than any business success. "How do you feel about tonight?" he asked as they walked toward the exit together. Nervous, excited, grateful. Ariel clutched her signed copy to her chest. "I still can't believe this is happening." "Believe it. You earned this. With your help." "I just opened a door," Caleb said. "You walked through it. Your words did the rest." Outside, the summer evening was warm, the sky still light though it was nearly 8 p.m. They fell into step beside each other, a rhythm they'd developed over weeks of walks and talks. "Jessica wants me to start working on a second book," Ariel said. "She thinks it could be a series, The Invisible Girl's Further Adventures. What do you think?" "I'm not sure. Mira has more stories to tell, but maybe I do." "I'd read anything you wrote," Caleb said honestly. Ariel smiled. "Even my grocery lists?" "Especially those. I bet you organize them by food group instead of aisle layout like normal people." "How did you know?" She laughed, a sound that had become less rare over the weeks. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, heading toward the small Italian restaurant that had become their regular spot. The owners, Marco and Sophia, now greeted them like old friends, always giving them the corner table by the window. "I've been thinking," Caleb said as they waited at a crosswalk, "about what's next. For me? Or for you? For both of us, separately and together." Ariel glanced at him. "Together? We've spent almost every day together for a month, talking, sharing meals, getting to know each other." "As friends," Ariel said carefully. "Yes, as friends." Caleb took a deep breath. "But I've been wondering if there might be more, if you might feel what I'm feeling." The light changed and they crossed the street, Ariel silent beside him. Caleb's heart raced. Had he misread the situation? Moved too fast? The last thing he wanted was to pressure her or complicate her fragile recovery. "What are you feeling?" she finally asked as they reached the other side. Caleb stopped walking and turned to face her. "I'm feeling like I want to know what you're thinking when you wake up in the morning. What makes you laugh when no one's watching? What dreams you had as a child that you've never told anyone? Those are big things to want to know about someone." "I know," Caleb smiled slightly. "But I've already read your suicide note and your novel. We didn't exactly start small." Ariel looked down at her hands, still clutching her bound manuscript. "I've been feeling things too. Things I didn't think I could feel again after my mother died. But I'm still called healing. Still figuring out who I am without the deadlines and the emptiness. I understand. We can take it slow. Or stay just friends if that's what you want." "It's not that I don't have feelings for you," Ariel said, meeting his eyes. "It's that I'm afraid." "Of what?" "Of depending on you too much. Of building my new life around you instead of finding my own foundation. Of what happens if—" She trailed off. "If it doesn't work out." Caleb finished for her. "Yes. I don't think I could survive losing someone else I care about." Caleb nodded slowly. "That makes sense, and I don't want to rush you or push you into something you're not ready for. But," Ariel raised an eyebrow hearing the unspoken qualifier, "but I think part of living, really living, not just surviving, is taking risks, opening yourself up to possibilities even when they're scary. Like publishing a book? Like that. Like letting someone see the real you. Like falling for someone, even though there are no guarantees." They stood there on the sidewalk, people flowing around them like a river around stones. In Ariel's eyes, Caleb could see the battle between fear and hope, between the safety of isolation and the risk of connection. "Let's get dinner," she said finally, "and talk more about this. I'm not saying no, just not yet." "I can work with not yet," Caleb said, smiling. "I'm patient." "Since when?" Ariel teased, the tension breaking. "You, the tech CEO who wants everything done yesterday?" "Since I met a quiet librarian who taught me that some stories unfold slowly." The next morning, Caleb woke to a text from Ariel. "I've been thinking about what you said, about taking risks. about possibilities. Can we meet at the library when you're done with your board meeting? There's something I want to show you, Caleb replied immediately. I'll be there at 4. The board meeting dragged on for hours, with discussions about quarterly projections and market strategy. But for once, Caleb was fully engaged, surprising his team with a series of questions and proposals that showed he'd been thinking deeply about the future of Mindful Me. I want to shift our focus, he announced toward the end of the meeting. Away from algorithms and toward human connection. What does that mean exactly? Howard Grayson asked, frowning. It means creating spaces, both virtual and physical, where people can genuinely connect. Support groups facilitated by trained professionals, partnerships with libraries and community centers, resources that bring people together face to face, not just screen to screen. That sounds expensive, another board member commented, and difficult to scale. Yes to both, Caleb agreed. But I've been thinking about what really helps people in crisis. It's not an app. It's not a chatbot. It's human connection. Real people who see you, who listen, who understand. This is about that woman, isn't it? Howard said. The one Emma mentioned. The writer. Ariel is part of it, Caleb admitted. But it's more than that. It's about getting back to why I started this company in the first place, to help people feel less alone. The board members exchanged glances, clearly skeptical, but Caleb pressed on, outlining his vision for a new direction. By the end of the meeting, he'd secured tentative approval for a pilot program. Community mental health spaces in partnership with public libraries, starting in their own city. When the meeting finally ended, Caleb headed straight for the main library. It was nearly 4 p.m. and he didn't want to keep Ariel waiting. She was at the front desk when he arrived, helping an elderly man find a book on gardening. She looked up as Caleb entered, gave him a small smile, and held up one finger, asking him to wait a moment. Caleb watched as she guided the man to the correct section, her manner patient and kind. This was the Ariel few people saw. Attentive, helpful, quietly competent. Not invisible at all, but essential to the workings of this place. When she returned to the front desk, she motioned for Caleb to follow her. I'm on my break, she explained. As they walked through the stacks, I wanted to show you something. She led him to the fiction section, to the familiar row where The Bell Jar had once held her goodbye note. But instead of taking that book from the shelf, she led him further, along to a different section. Here, she said, stopping in front of a shelf labeled Staff Picks. On a small display stand sat a book, not Sylvia Plath this time, but a different novel. Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig. I've been reading a lot, Ariel explained. Books. About depression, about grief, about finding your way back. Is it helping? Caleb asked. Yes, this one especially. She took the book from the stand and opened it, turning to page 237. I wanted you to see this. Tucked inside the page was a small envelope. She handed it to Caleb. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it, remembering the last letter he'd found in a book. But this one was different. It wasn't addressed to whoever might find it, it was addressed to him. Dear Caleb, 1 month ago I put a goodbye note in a book. I thought no one would find it, no one would see me, but you did. You didn't try to fix me, you didn't offer empty platitudes. You just saw me. You read my words, both the desperate ones in that note and the hopeful ones in my manuscript. And you showed me that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as invisible as I thought. I'm still healing, still having hard days, still missing my mother and doubting my worth sometimes. But I'm also writing again, dreaming again, beginning to believe that my story isn't over. Last night you asked about us, about possibilities. I was afraid to answer, afraid of depending too much on you, afraid of losing someone else I care about. But I've realized something in the hours since. I'm already depending on you, already caring about you, already afraid of losing you. Holding back doesn't protect me from any of that. So yes, I want to explore these feelings, to see where they lead, to take the risk of letting someone else matter to me again. You found me on page 237 of a book about despair. I'm finding you on page 237 of a book about hope. Maybe that means something. Maybe it's just coincidence. Either way, I'm glad it happened. Ariel P.S. Turn the page. Caleb looked up from the letter to find Ariel watching him, her expression a mixture of vulnerability and determination. He turned to page 238 of the book she'd chosen. There, highlighted in yellow, was a passage. "And now I am here, and I am warm, and I am as close to happy as I ever thought possible. The storm ends. Believe me." "I believe you," Caleb said softly. It's not going to be easy," Ariel warned. "I still have bad days, days when the emptiness comes back." "I know," Caleb said. "I have them too. And there's the whole billionaire CEO dating a librarian thing. People will talk. Let them. Your board members, the press, they'll think I'm after your money. Anyone who spends 5 minutes with you would know that's not true." Ariel took a deep breath. "So we're doing this, seeing where it leads. If you want to." "I do," she said, "but slowly. One day at a time." "That's how I've lived for 5 years now," Caleb reminded her. "One day at a time works for me." Ariel smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. "I have to get back to work. Dinner later? I'll pick you up at 7. As Ariel returned to the front desk, Caleb stayed in the stacks, holding the book she'd selected, Reasons to Stay Alive. He opened it again, rereading the passage she'd highlighted, feeling its truth in his bones. The storm ends, even the worst ones. Not all at once, not completely, but enough to feel warmth again. Enough to believe in possibility. He carefully replaced the book on the display stand, keeping Ariel's letter in his pocket. Then he walked toward the exit, already looking forward to seeing her again that evening. 3 months later, on a crisp autumn day, Ariel stood nervously in the lobby of New Leaf Press, clutching a leather portfolio similar to the one Caleb had used for her manuscript all those months ago. "Ms. Tompkins," a receptionist appeared. "Jessica will see you now." Ariel nodded and followed the woman down a hallway lined with framed book covers, New Leaf's greatest successes. At the end of the hall was Jessica Chen's office, the door open in welcome. "Ariel, right on time." Jessica stood to greet her, gesturing to a chair across from her desk. "I've been looking forward to this meeting." "Me too," Ariel said, trying to hide her nerves. "Though I'm still not sure why you wanted to see me in person. We could have discussed the edits over the phone." "This isn't about the edits," Jessica smiled. "Those are coming along beautifully. Your revisions have been excellent." "Then what's this about?" Jessica opened a drawer and pulled out a large envelope. "This is your contract, officially offering you a 2-book deal with New Leaf." "2 books?" Ariel's eyes widened. "But we've only discussed The Invisible Girl. The response from our focus groups has been strong enough that we want to secure your next project as well. Whatever it might be." "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Jessica laughed. "And then, sign here." As Ariel read through the contract, a real publishing contract with her name on it, she felt a surreal sense of achievement. This was really happening. Her book would be on shelves next year. People would read her words. Her mother's last wish for her was coming true. "I have something else to show you," Ariel said after signing the contract. She opened her portfolio and pulled out a single sheet of paper. "The dedication page for The Invisible Girl." Jessica took it and read aloud. "For my mother who always saw me, for C who found me when I was lost, and for anyone who has ever felt invisible, you are seen." "It's beautiful," Jessica said. "Simple, but powerful. Like the book, I hope. Exactly like the book." After the meeting, Ariel stepped out onto the busy street, feeling lighter than she had in years. She pulled out her phone and texted Caleb. "I signed the contract, 2-book deal, still can't believe it's real." His reply came seconds later. "Believe it. You earned this. Dinner to celebrate? Yes. Meet me at the library first? 5 p.m. I'll be there." Ariel smiled and put her phone away. 3 months ago, she couldn't imagine being here, standing on a sidewalk, contract signed, heart full, future stretching ahead of her. She'd been ready to disappear, to end her story at its darkest chapter. But someone had found her note, had seen her when she thought she was invisible, had shown her that sometimes the most important page in your story isn't the ending, it's the place where everything changes. Page 237. Caleb arrived at the library exactly at 5 p.m. as promised. In the months since they'd begun dating, he'd never once been late to meet Ariel. Every moment with her felt precious, a gift he hadn't expected. She was waiting for him at the front entrance, her face glowing with excitement. She'd called earlier to tell him about the 2-book deal, her voice breaking with emotion. "Congratulations, published author," he said, hugging her. "Not quite yet," she laughed. "The book won't be out until next spring." "Close enough. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have," Caleb insisted. "Maybe not the same way or at the same time. But your talent and your voice, those are all yours." Ariel smiled up at him. "I have something to show you before we go to dinner." "Another note in another book?" he teased. "Something like that. Come on." She led him through the library, past the fiction section where they'd first crossed paths, toward the rear of the building. They went through a door marked "Staff Only" and down a corridor to a small room lined with bookshelves. "What is this place?" Caleb asked. "The Rare Book Room. We keep first editions, signed copies, valuable donations." Ariel pulled a key from her pocket and unlocked a glass-fronted cabinet, including this. She carefully removed a book and handed it to Caleb. It was an old leather-bound copy of The Bell Jar. "Is this the same copy where I left my note?" "Yes." Ariel watched as he turned it over in his hands. "The library director retired last month. Before she left, she moved this copy to the rare books collection, said it was getting too worn for general circulation. She doesn't know its significance, does she?" "No, no one does except you and me." Caleb opened the book carefully. The pages were worn, well-read, filled with the thoughts and feelings of a writer who had understood darkness, but also created beauty. "Turn to page 237, Ariel said softly. Caleb found the page, the one where he'd discovered her note all those months ago. But now tucked inside was something else, a small blue envelope. "What's this? Open it and see." With gentle fingers, Caleb removed the envelope and opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded in half. He unfolded it to find Ariel's handwriting. "Dear Finder, if you're reading this, you've discovered a secret. This book once held a different note, a goodbye letter written in my darkest moment. But something unexpected happened. Someone found that note. Someone saw me when I thought I was invisible. That person changed everything, not by fixing me or saving me, but by walking beside me, by reminding me that stories don't have to end at their darkest chapter. I don't know who you are or why you've opened this book to this page. Maybe you're browsing randomly. Maybe you're a Plath scholar. Maybe you're feeling as lost as I once was. Whatever brought you here, please know this: you are not invisible. Your story is not over. The storm ends even when you can't believe it will. And sometimes the most important page in your story isn't the ending. It's the place where everything changes. APS. If you need someone to talk to, there's a new program at this library. Free counseling sessions, support groups, real people who will see you. Just ask at the front desk about page 237. Caleb looked up from the letter, his eyes moist. Page 237? That's what we're calling it, Ariel explained. The community mental health program your company is funding here. It launches next month. You're going to help run it? Part-time, along with my library duties. The rest of my time will be for writing. Caleb carefully refolded the letter and slipped it back into the envelope. So someone else might find this note, the way I found yours. Maybe, maybe not. But it feels right to leave it here, to close the circle somehow. Caleb returned the letter to page 237 and handed the book back to Ariel, who gently replaced it in the cabinet. Ready for dinner? She asked, locking the cabinet. Actually, Caleb said, there's something I wanted to ask you first. What is it? I've been offered a position on the National Mental Health Commission. It would mean relocating to Washington for at least a year. Ariel's face fell slightly. Oh, when would you start? January, but Ariel... Caleb took her hands in his. I'm not asking because I'm planning to leave. I'm asking because I'd like you to consider coming with me. To Washington? But my job, my book launch, you could write anywhere. And New Leaf has an office in D.C. Jessica already said she could arrange for you to work with their team there for the launch. I've discussed this with Jessica. Just exploring possibilities, Caleb said. I haven't given the commission an answer yet. I wanted to talk to you first, because these past few months with you, they've changed me. Changed what I want from life. And what do you want? Ariel asked softly. I want mornings with you, evenings with you, conversations that last until midnight. I want to help build this program here and others like it across the country. I want to be there when your book launches and when you write your next one. Caleb took a deep breath. I want a future with you in it. Every day. Ariel's eyes filled with tears. That sounds a lot like a proposal. It's not. Not yet. I know we're still taking things slowly, one day at a time. One day at a time, she agreed. But Caleb, lately I've been thinking about those days adding up, becoming weeks, months, years. So have I. Ask me again, Ariel said. About Washington. Will you come with me? Caleb asked. Not because you need me or I need you, but because we choose each other. Every day. Ariel smiled through her tears. Yes, I'll come with you. Caleb pulled her close, holding her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. Because to him, she was. I love you, he whispered against her hair. Not just for the writer or the survivor, for all of you, every page of your story. I love you too, Ariel said, for seeing me when I was invisible, for finding me on page 237. Together, they left the rare book room, walking hand in hand through the library where their story had begun. Outside, the autumn sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. A new chapter was beginning, not just for Ariel and her book, not just for Caleb and his company, but for both of them, together. Their story, like all good stories, would have its dark moments, its challenges, its unexpected twists, but it would also have this. Two people who had found each other in their darkest hours, who had chosen to keep turning pages, who had discovered that sometimes the most important part of any story isn't where it ends, it's where it truly begins.